Hi everyone, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today we're going to do a card from start to finish. I am going to use this piece of washi tape as my inspiration for the card. I wanted it to be a very festive and fun card for a birthday party, and I've decided to pair it with a couple of other washis that are in my stash. When you have such a bold pattern as the one in the center, I try to go with the patterns that are a little more subtle and keep with the same color palette that you can find in the dominant washi. I also tried to pick a couple of patterns that were thinner than the bold as well. Now I'm going to take a 4-inch doily and I'm going to spray it with the Dilutionals Lemon Zest ink, and then I'm going to spray over the top of it with the Gold Lame from Heidi Swapp's Color Shine. You do want to make sure you shake this bottle before spraying. And I'm going to put that to the side and let it dry. Now I'm going to pull out my washi tapes, and with the original card I had cut the washi into banners, but I really think I like the idea of them just being torn, so for this version I'm just going to tear them instead of being so meticulous with it. I'm starting out with a card base that's 110-pound ivory cardstock, and it is folded so that it has a top fold. It's a standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm using my Crocodile corner puncher in the quarter inch to round the bottom corners of the card. And I'm going to try to get it lined up here on my mat. I think I ended up being a little off center, but make sure that you spend a little more time and make sure you get it lined up straight. And then use the center of my mat grid to find my center point. And then if you take your finger and rip across the edge of your finger, you'll get a nice tear rather than a jagged, long, pointed tear. And I'm just fixing the bottom. Now I wanted my stripes to not all start and stop in the same position, which is why I thought tearing them might actually give it more of a natural look. So you just want to take and layer your next dominant color next to the focal point tape. And I decided, just because the one was so loud, that I would go ahead and use the same tape on either side, keeping it symmetrical in design. You do want to make sure that you get your washi put down straight. I think I had to pull it up a couple of times just to be sure it was straight, but I was trying to do this for film. And also now I'm going to go with my smaller pattern of tape and just use that as the border on the outside. And I love this tape, and I'm not really sure where any of that came from, but I'm almost 85% sure that these are Recollections tapes. So once I get this other side down and get it good and straight, I want to rip it. You can see it's off center just a hair, but I can trim that off with the paper trimmer after the video is over to kind of straighten it up a little bit. So then I'm going to come back to my doily, and it needed to have just a little bit of heat set to it. It was still just a little bit too wet, and I'm dabbing it off on the side over there. But it's a really nice lemon color, and the color shine just really gives it a nice gold lame look over the top of that bright yellow. So now I want to go ahead and take a piece of the scrap, and I'm going to use this Labels Punch by or this one's by Stampin' Up. But if you do not have the shape, just check your Nestabilities dies or your Sizzix dies and see if you can find something that has two similar shapes that are easily nested. For the matted shape, I'm going to take the washi tape and add it to the scrap piece of paper in a diagonal stripe. And then I'm going to take this EK Success punch and punch it out. And that's going to give me a nice mat for my sentiment. And it's going to help to pull that dominant washi back up to the top of the card. Then off on another edge of the scrap, I'm just going to lay down a piece of this tape, and I'm going to make a flag out of it. So the cardstock actually gives a little bit of stability to the flag shape so that it doesn't, tape down. So I'm just going to trim this up a little bit, clean it up the edges, and cut it into a fishtail banner. And then snip off the other side. And this is approximately 2 inches long. You can eyeball it if you need to. And it might be a little bit too long. So now my doily, I'm going to fix it down to the center of my card using some ATG tape, just in the center. At this point, you know, I just want to get it down, and I'm going to take some of this thin mounting tape, and it's very thin, so I'm just folding it in half so that I can get a little more elevation. If you're planning to mail this card, you might want to adhere this flat down, but I wanted the dimension because this card's going to be hand delivered. So now I'm going to take my sentiment, which just says happy birthday, and it's from the Fisker's Greetings Sentiments. And I keep all of my sentiments in these little Ziploc bags with the card backing so that I can tell what they are. I'm going to use the Heidi Swap archival ink and pink. Now this ink does go on a bit dark, but it does dry lighter. And I was okay with it if it didn't, but because it does match the tape really well. And I'm going to go ahead and fold over some more of that dimensional tape and add it to the back. And again, if you're going to mail this, you may want to just stick with one level versus two. I just wanted a little more dimension. So I'm going to center that in the middle of that label, and now it's time to add my flag. So I'm going to take a toothpick and I'm going to cut the rounded pointed edge off the toothpick. And then I'm going to add just a spot of hot glue to that and add it to my flag. Now the glue gun that I'm using is from Surebonder. It's the detailed glue gun. It's their new and improved one. The glue transfers through very well and easy, unlike the other one. So this is an upgrade from it, and I'm really happy with it. The tip's a little larger than the detailed one was before, but it works beautifully. So I highly recommend that glue gun. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape to the back of my flag just to give it a little more lift so that it's about the same level as the bottom level mat for my sentiment. Then I'm going to take some baker's twine in a yellow, and I'm going to tie a small bow, and I'm going to add that to my stem just to soften it up a bit. It also helps to fill in that negative space above the happy birthday. And fidget with the little bow to make sure it's the right size. And now you can see how it really kind of helps to fill in the top of that and give another layer. So just a spot of glue there. This card is so festive and fun. So now I'm going to take some Teresa Collins sequins. These are from her Family Stories collection. And I'm just going to add in a visual triangle. I'm going to add my sequins to the card. Now if you let that glue just sort of sit for a second and then put your put your sequin down, it will act as a pop dot and keep it a little elevated, which is super cool too. So you just let the glue dry for just a second. It doesn't take long. And again, I'm placing these in a visual triangle around the sentiment so it helps to draw your eye back down to where it says happy birthday. And then we have one more final touch to add to this. I have a heart. This is a wood veneer heart from Studio Calico, and if you don't have the wood veneer hearts, you can always use a punched heart. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the back so I can add it here in the center. And then I'm going to take my Tim Holtz Distress pen in the worn lipstick and color in the heart. And it's a nice color that complements the Heidi Swap ink that was used for the sentiment. And then I'm going to take my Wink of Stella pen and add a little bit of glitter glaze over the top of my heart, and that will finish out my card. So thank you guys so much for watching and hanging with me during this process. I hope you enjoyed it. And